Welcome back to Online Darts, everyone. Here we are, we've finally got over the build-up to the World Championships, and it wouldn't be the same if we didn't grab Mase. Chris, are you excited now?
Yeah, it's just around the corner, and I always, even when you're not playing, you still get that same buzz because it's just something so special.
It was after the players, wasn't it? We were like, we'll do it after that, and it's just that buzz. My head's done. Although the players is a fabulous tournament, as soon as it's done, all eyes just turn to one thing and one thing only.
Yeah, I think we've seen in that tournament as well, a lot of people had they sort of coming in to the end of a really tough season, and there was a lot of the field that seemed sort of distracted in a good way, because you do have sort of one, even no matter what you play, whether you play in league or speaking from experience, your mind is certainly on Ali Pali, or for me back then it was the Embassy, of course.
One man has dominated. Again, 4 big TV titles this year. Michael Van Gerwen added the Players' Championship to that list of honour for this year, and he goes to Ali Pali, rightfully the favourite.
Yeah, I think so. On the back of the success he's had this year, I'm not sure I suppose mathematically he's dominated, but with not winning the Worlds this year. And there was a few events that didn't quite go his way, and he's shown signs of vulnerability. But I suppose we could say who's the best player in the world right now? It's Michael Van Gerwen, and that's it's no good being the best player in the world in March or June or August. You've got to be peaking at the right time, and he's due one, and let's put it that way. This sounds terrible to say, but he's only got 3 world titles, which someone of his ridiculous ability, whether you think he's the GOAT or Phil Taylor's the GOAT, he's one of 2, isn't he? And he should have more than 3 world titles, you would think, but I think that's more of an example of how tough the sport is.
If I'd have said to you back in early May that he had won the Premier League, the match play, the World Grand Prix and the Players, after he told the world, look, I'm going in for an operation, and after doing some research and digging, there was no guarantees that surgery was ever going to work, and to come back so quickly and do what he did, would you ever see that happening?
No, I'd have called you a fanboy, which is what you are. No, I'd have thought I wouldn't have thought so, because although the change of manufacturer, there still seem to be small issues there, not with Wimmo, of course, but with just generally him getting settled with a dart that he really loved, or even though just post changing to Wimmo, of course, he had that incredible UK Open where he averaged 105 for the tournament, which was outstanding, but he just never seemed that same player again. And I think in this year there's been spells where, that World Match Play final against Gezi, he was just unbelievable how he dug in there, where we've not seen that from him for a while, where he almost had it in his mind, I refuse to lose, and I think that stood him in good stead, and he's gone on and he's kicked on, and Rob Cross in the Players' Champs threw everything at him. That final didn't really deserve to be that big a gap between the two, but my goodness, the 9-darter, and then he went missing, and we all thought Rob Cross is going to come back up in typical Rob Cross fashion. He finds the 170, and then, well, Rob Cross must have felt like he'd been run over by a truck.
To be fair, you gave me your sheet from the comms box, and I looked at it on my own. That final, the numbers from both of them were just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was I do my 180s and put a circle around them so I can, and it's just an array of 180s, 171s, 177, 174.
Crosses.
It was one of those I sort of looked at it and thought someone else has got to see this. So nice little keeps. I get Michael to sign it and get it framed. It's not quite as nice as the official ones you can get, but it was just a brilliant tournament for varying different reasons. Like I said, a few players didn't have their eye on the ball, but that's understandable.
Peter Wright, the world world number 2 and current world champion, missed the tournament for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Joe, his wife, not been very well.
Yeah, thoughts with Joe and her recovery.
Well, obviously family first, and we all understand that. But from the darts point of view, is there a concern that we haven't seen Peter Wright throw a competitive dart since the Grand Slam going into the Worlds.
Yeah, and he's obviously going to go into it undercooked. It's all immaterial, I suppose. What's most important for him is his wife and family and everything else. But yeah, I mean, it can work one or two ways. He can either go in there with no expectation, be nice and relaxed, and dare I say it, probably try another set of darts. But the draw could have been a little bit easier for him. He potentially could end up playing Ben Robb, who we've seen at the Super Series, who looks a very capable player and looks the kind of player that would relish that opportunity. I think as long as Peter Wright gets through the first couple of rounds, I think he's got so much experience, and he's one of the best the sport's ever seen. I think he's one of them kind of players that can play himself into form.
After we saw Gezi in spells in the Premier League hitting 9 darts for fun, he's only won TV title in brackets, which was the World Series final. No TV ranking tournament this year. If I'd have said that to you back in March, would you have stared at me if I was on something?
Well, imagine if I had said neither him or Johnny Clayton will pick up a title this year, a ranking title, and neither have done so. Yeah, it's been a strange year, but a lot of that has been down to the fact that Michael's had such a good spell and such good performance in the real big tournaments. So, and Gezi, I mean, he was all over Michael in that final for the vast majority. And if it wouldn't have been for an inspired Michael, then Gezi would have won the match play. But listen, it's a tough school out there, and I think, although the players say being world number one doesn't matter, I wonder if in the back of Gezi's mind he's been thinking about, I've got so much to defend, and Michael, of course, has got little to nothing to defend going into this year's Worlds, and we could see another world number one. Well, in World again.
Well, you say that, it's absolutely right, because Gezi is one that he knows what he's defending in every tournament going, and obviously that noose of 500,000 ranking points, as he calls it, it's huge.
Yeah, it is huge, and even when, if you go to the other end of the scale, when you're in that sort of 30, 31, 32, 33, 30 position, you're fully aware of what you've got to defend, what those around you are defending. So God knows what it must be like being number one in the world and wanting to keep that, because, listen, I know he's proud of that. This was a guy who played rugby. He was coming to nick a few quid off the dart players. And
that's like still gets
and he's done more than that. So, but again, although he's achieved incredible things in the game, more than most, I think there's still plenty to come from Gezi.
This year, the top three, they've spiced it up a little bit.
Yeah.
As well, haven't they? There's been a war of words in the media, don't get me wrong, we've loved every minute of it.
Yeah, and encourage it.
And
really poke the bear.
That's the game's a game. But they've really gone at each other for the first time, where normally they're all matey, but this time there was some genuine, we had you shut your mouth and don't talk until after the tournament. There's a genuine rivalry between those three.
Well, I think when you think of the era, you had sort of Taylor at the top, and we were all sort of, well, not all of us, but some of us were always sort of, a little bit fed up with it. And then you had Michael's era, and then all of a sudden you had this influx, and a totally, well, not a new type of character, but a Bristow type of character who was flamboyant and stuck it up the crowd and whatever else, stuck it up the opponent, and that added a different dynamic. And then he's world number one, and Michael's like, well, no, I'm the best player in the world. Well, you're not, are you? And although they're quite pally with each other, you can also see that there's that undercurrent. And listen, when they're making all that money, it then comes down to, right, who is world number one? Who is going to win all the titles? And I think that's just added a really fun dynamic, and it's showing that they should have passion. They're doing nothing wrong. They're breaking no rules, and as long as it's done politely, I love it, and long may it continue. And of course, now we've got someone like Ross Smith coming in, Michael Smith picking up his first major, Luke Humphries, who's knocking on the door of winning his first major, Rob Cross coming back into things. It's getting tasty.
On those little sub-stories, that brings us on to it nicely. I think we've scripted this. We haven't, by the way. Michael Smith, the monkey, has finally gone look, we all said it would. He was too good not to win.
Yeah.
I know everyone says, oh, Terry Jenkins, but this was different. Michael Smith is just an elite level operator, and we saw what it meant to him and the kids there in Wolverhampton, and what a performance.
Yeah, and what a way to do it. It was, it was just fitting that he eventually won one. I couldn't be prouder of him. I've known him since he was a kid, and I've had to, like everybody else, read all the nonsense by people who don't play, and it's just so nice for it just to see him. And then see the different side of him, of that relief, and it must have been horrendous for him. I was briefly tipped to win something. This guy's been tipped to win one for 4 or 5 years, and we make it worse by sort of saying, no, it's not if, it's when. And then to constantly go so close, and then it just sort of being snatched away from him. I'm over the moon for him, and of course, as we sort of expected and spoke about, he hadn't sort of come down from winning that into the players gets done first round, but we almost expected that, and that won't be the first or the last for that to happen. We've seen it happen before, but he's gonna be in the business end of this world, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him either make the final, make the semi-final at least, and possibly make the final, because we know he has all the elements to his game, and set play does suit him. And when he has lost, Peter Wright, what he produced against him was just unplayable. It was miraculous. In fact, it was very similar to the darts that Ross Smith produced against Peter Wright when he was, 8-3 down or 7-3 down or something. I think 7 of the 8 legs were 5 visits or less. And that's what it takes nowadays for some of these players to get beaten. And I know people say, well, what about some of the other averages? Well, when you're playing, what did the players play? Three best of 16s in 3 first of 16s in 2 days.
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to get out of them? That's like asking 1,500 metre or 5,000 metre runners to do 3 of them in a day and a half. It's unrealistic. On
the slam, because it brings me into Nathan Aspinall nicely. First of all, is that format does it need looking at? Because that first semi-final was a huge advantage in this playing, like you say, those best of 31s. The Asp looked absolutely shattered in that final. Yeah,
he was washed, and who's not going to be? And it's no good going, well, Taylor used to do it. Well, Muhammad Ali used to do boxing different. It's no point. You can't make comparisons. It's different. And of course, the schedule is just so full on now that players are going into these tournaments already carrying fatigue. If they want to do the 2 matches, I don't understand why we've got. I do understand it. Again, it's money and everything else, but why not do a double session on the Saturday or something to compensate for it? I don't know. Do something, or if you want to put something on in the afternoon, create something else to fill it in the afternoon. But ultimately, the product is suffering because the standard of darts is not going to be. They're not going to be at their best because you're making them. They're out on their feet. But again, we'll get told, well, it's up to the players to be fitter and everything else. Maybe so, but we're not asking them to play like what we do in the UK Open. Where it's half the, and it's different. The Grand Slams are all different, especially they're playing so much early on with the group games and everything else. So I think it's something that could be tweaked, but or the matches, just shorten the matches. Do we need a game that long?
But Nathan Aspinall, 2 ranking finals.
Premier League? Oh, is that very...
Don't worry, we'll come on to that. Don't worry, you're not getting over that. But from a man that thought his career was potentially over at the start of the year to now making 2 huge TV finals, and he's playing himself back into the apps that we saw 2 years ago. Yeah,
and he's producing fight backs as well, isn't he? That's what he's so tenacious. He's got that real old school throwback quality. He doesn't know when he's beat. He's got that grit. We do see from time to time players that will sort of go, well, it's not my day. And I think the flip side of that is because we have so many tournaments now, they think, oh, I've got another one next week, I've got another one next week, and that's great. That's great, but yeah, I'm chuffed a bit. It's another real nice fella, Nathan Aspinall. Like, if you're a fan of darts and you don't enjoy seeing him go up there and put himself to the ringer and give it absolutely 110%, then maybe the game's not for you, because I certainly could watch him. He competes. You know, he doesn't just rely on natural ability. He's an out-and-out grafter, and I respect that.
On the Grand Slam as well, we saw a couple of moments where I'd love to have a player cam, like we do at the World Cup, when I think it was Suits and Simon Whitlock had to watch games to see if they were going through and everything like that. And the
when ITV did it, when we used to do it right, you see, we used to do that.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. They can watch it in a little room, but the camera's on.
Joke, by the way, before anybody gets salty.
Like in the World Cup.
Yeah, but we used to. We used to, when we had a situation like that, we used to make sure the players were sat at a table and we'd chuck a camera down there and watch them go through the turmoil and the unknown, because that, again, that makes sport, doesn't it? That's the passion.
We all know the cross-code days are long gone, and by the look of it, they're never going to return. But with that, does something need to happen with the Grand Slam? Because it's, for the fan and just looking on social media, it looks as if it's lost a bit of its sparkle for that reason. I understand why it's not there, but does something need to happen to it to reinvigorate it?
I think there's too many qualifying spaces for one, but I think there's too many Q score places as well. I think that's another thing that needs to be looked at. I think before, when there wasn't so many players, but we got so many players now committed to the Challenge Tour, I think it may be, and the financial costs involved of doing the full season on the Challenge Tour, and the lucky ones that then get to step in on the Pro Tour as reserves. I think maybe we could go a little bit deeper in how we reward Challenge Tour players in terms of tour cards, and I think the Slam needs a revamp. I think it needs, the whole purpose of it was this 16 v 16 crossroad element. That's now gone, and I don't see where it comes back. I wouldn't see a problem if the WDF gets its the credibility in terms, I'd certainly have the women's world champion and the men's champion in there. I think that's still the winners still carry enough credibility, but the days of having 16 of each, with all due respect, it wouldn't really.
No, we understand the reasons why it's not, but something seems.
I think it needs reinventing, or calling something different, or change the format maybe, or it's a long tournament. It's a 9-dayer, and they're rare in the calendar. We have the match play, we have the Grand Prix and the Worlds. So why not why not tweak it and come up with something, maybe a different format? Because it's that lovely thing where you have all the night sessions. For one, I'd love to see it go back to the Civic, because I think that's one of the best atmospheres in darts.
That bear pit atmosphere, yeah. Your call with the boxing.
Exactly that. But yeah, maybe the powers that be are already on that and thinking about, right, what can we do to re-establish the event. We don't have too many events in that part of the world either. And I think it would be a great opportunity to come up with something new and unique.
On qualifiers and everything like that, obviously the world lineup is complete, and social media was sent into Mount when the PDC put the Women's World Match Play Champion Fallon Sherrock in.
What, you mean the only women's major the PDC have?
I think darts fans looking at it from a sensible point of view agree with the decision. It was more the timing element, and by the sounds of it had been known for a while that was going to happen. And
I knew about it when the women's match play was on, when we were covering it for Talk Sport. The potential that the winner of this as its only standalone women's only PDC major, that how could you possibly have a world championship without your only winner in it? And of course, when it became apparent that there was going to be a place available because of restrictions and other countries' rules, then why wouldn't you put your women's the time? But who cares? I don't give, and I wouldn't give a toss if they told me the day before, as long as Fallon knows, which she was fully aware, and I'm pretty sure most of the women were aware. If not, why not? Ask your management team why not, or I don't know why you don't know. But who cares? We live in this world of everybody wants equality and opportunity, and we give 3 women opportunities in a world championship. Surely that's something to celebrate, not constantly. Well, this is the problem: is people who absolutely don't go, don't really play, or have no real interest in sport, but just you pick on the sport as something to, I don't know, get credibility with your little cronies by going, oh well, that's disgusting, and why are people so negative about getting opportunities of others? Probably because they have no ambition themselves, I'm not sure, but we live in that world where everyone's given a platform to have an opinion who don't have a clue, and that's just the world we live in. Listen, good luck to Fallon, good luck to Bo, and good luck to Lisa. I hope they have a brilliant tournament, and they get an opportunity to fulfill a dream up there. You've got 4-time champion in Lisa. Bo's literally, it was Fallon that was, smashing the glass ceiling, and now it's Bo Greaves. All credit to them, but I don't see how the PDC can have an opportunity in a world championship to not have their only champion in it, in the women's side of the sport. It wouldn't make sense if she wasn't in it. I'd be critical of that, saying, hang on a minute, how can you have this huge event? And it was a huge event. It was, it had all the bows and whistles and everything thrown at it. It was live on the radio. It was on Sky Sports. And then you reward the winner of that by going, oh, by the way, you're not in the Worlds, when there was a space available, which they knew about ages ago. But there you go. It's, again, I understand people's frustration in the timing, but again, if you cared, you'd know. It's like, I care about boxing, and you hear all these decisions being made, and people going, oh, well, if you care about the sport, you'd know about these things. I honestly am baffled why there was so much uproar. Who does it concern? Who does it bother? Ask the I've got to get this right, how many hundreds of thousands of people it is that attend there, if they're bothered by it. Half of them won't even know. They won't. Yeah. They won't. They go, oh, that Fallon girl, she's playing now. Oh, there's another girl, Bo's playing. Oh, Lisa's playing. They don't know. And half the people that sit on the internet don't go anyway. You've got to leave your house to go somewhere, rather than just abusing people online for the sake of it, because you can get away with it. If you want some respect and you want your opinion, at least don't use a fake name. I've read some of the stuff that's been written. It's apps, and this is the best bit. These people that go on about how other people behave or what they do with their life, they're doing far worse by bullying and abusing online and wishing death on people and mocking people's deaths. Yet they have the cheek then to have some kind of judgment on other people's credibility. Look a little bit closer to them. Look in the mirror. And I'm staggered. And the PDC also have a duty of care, as does Sky. They have a duty of care to Fallon and the other girls, because they're putting them in, especially Fallon at the moment, because some of the stuff being written, and again, there's some stuff about Luke Littler. What's he, like a 15, 16-year-old kid? These are adults. These are grown men and grown women. Worry about what other people have done in their life. Have a look at yourself. Have a look in the mirror and think about the people you're abusing, because it's not right.
On the celebration, there are 3 women there.
Absolutely, it's a great thing.
All 3 more than capable of going there. All 3 have got tough ties as well. But if you're Bo, if you can get through Willie, then you've got a shot at Gabrielle Clements, where arguably the first round game was tougher than the potential second round one.
I'm not sure about that, but I understand the thinking. Listen, they're all capable of hitting 100 average. They've all done it, haven't they? And Fallon's recorded some remarkable stats over the years. Is she in that kind of form right now? Not what I've seen. Lisa seems to be playing a little bit better of late. but some of the numbers Bo's been putting in there, not just in the women's series, but away from that in some WDF events, she does look the more likely. But her draw's tough.
Yeah.
Her draw is tough, like tough. So yeah, she's gonna have to be somewhere near her best, and OP's maybe just affected by the situation, which I cannot see. But if you'd have said to me a few years ago what Fallon went on to do, I'd have probably said you were bonkers. And look what she's gone on to. And she was the one, along with Dita back in the day, and Anastasia and Trina. They're the ones who've all contributed to this. And listen, Fallon was the first one that sort of ran with the ball, and now look at the opportunities. And the same person who created this opportunity is the same person that's getting abused for winning a PDC women's major and then getting a spot in a 96-player field world championship. I think people have just lost their shit.
Just picking this back up, quick little battery change. With the Worlds comes hand in hand with another tournament, but the Premier League is being talked about everywhere now. The move to 8 is going to stay again this year.
But they wish you hadn't done that now,
I was going to say, this is my next point, that are we looking at 2 more joining the catch with Nico and Rob Cross in Danny Noppert and Ross Smith potentially winning TV titles and not making the cut?
Well, they set precedents, didn't they? I know the Nico thing was quite complicated because of the time. But with Rob Cross, when he won the Europeans, they left him out. Yet they put in the Masters winner, a non-ranking event. But look what they went on to do. One of them won it, the other one had a dart to win it. So, but it's hard, isn't it? I was thinking about it the other day, I do not envy whoever, the top 4 they pick themselves. If we do still believe that Sky has a pick...
I don't think they do anymore.
No, I don't think they do. So Matt and Eddie and whoever else is involved have got to sit down and get 4 out of about 8.
As we record this right now, I think 6 are done.
Go on, who's your 6?
Top 4 as they are.
Yeah.
And I think Humphreys and Aspinall are in. My personal, I might be way off of that, but I think...
Ahead of someone who won I don't know, before I get... a TV title, ranking TV title.
I think so, because of what the Premier League is.
I'm not quite sure. Although I think Danny is aware that he may not have been Premier League material in terms of, remember, this is a non-ranking exhibition promotional event for the brand. It's not a ranking event, it's a promotion event, right? And he may not have fitted into that whole thing, where I think he's been a bit more expressive, he's shown a bit more of his personality. I think someone might have said, look pal, you're going to have to up your game, which is quite sad really, but that's the nature of sport, that's the world we live in nowadays. Ross Smith?
I think he misses out.
What? No, Ross Smith's made for the Premier League.
I think he is, but
big scorer, Nick's loads of money.
I think he misses out. I don't think he expects.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big call, pal. That's a big Dirk.
I think he's one of the ones that's in that list.
In the mix, isn't he? I know his ranking doesn't really reflect, but again, it's a promotional event. It's a brand exercise, and he's really popular. It's lots of money. It's more than anybody really. I'm glad I don't have to pick it.
Who would you pick? As we're recording right now, pre-Worlds.
Top 4.
If you're picking your 8, who would you go for?
Humphreys.
Yeah.
Smith. Danny. Dirk. Yeah. I think, although Aspinall's made 2 finals, I don't think he can trump people who have won or what you're doing by putting him in instead of them, I don't think that sends out the right message.
On that message,
Yeah.
I knew this was coming because
Who have I left out?
Cullen and Clayton.
Yeah.
Clayton, who's got
So up to the final, had a dart.
Clayton's won it and topped the league table last time.
Yeah.
And Joe Cullen got to the final and was a flag paper of winning it.
Yeah. I know.
Cruel game, isn't it?
I know, and I didn't even think about that. You know, how about Wade? What's he, number 5 in the world?
I think he drops about 8 off.
Oh, right, okay.
Unless he does something drastic, but Rob Crossbar number 6 again.
Yeah, well, Rob Cross made a final, played absolutely brilliant, but I'm not sure his reaction to not being included last year will help him. Yeah, I wouldn't want to make that decision. I'd have them all in, you see. I wouldn't have been so. And don't get me wrong. From having gone as a fan and sat in the crowd, it's amazing to see their reaction. They all stay to the end because they get to see a winner.
Yeah.
From a armchair perspective, it's quite monotonous, which is quite interesting that Sky have allowed that view where for them to do it. Which amazes me because surely they're the ones. But that's where we know where the money comes from. But I'm amazed that they're sort of going, yeah, do it again. Because I think there would have been an opportunity to go back to 12, and because I think how do you leave those players out? But someone is going to be. I mean, if you'd have said to me, next year's Premier League won't have Joe Cullen, I'm not saying they're not in it or don't deserve to be in it. I'd have them all in it. But you know, Rob Cross is not going to be in it after making a final. No Cullen, no Clayton. Now, where are we going with this now? But it is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. It's going to be terrible for some players, but amazing for others. And I mean, how can you leave Cullen out? He had a dart to win it.
Premier League has crippled people before in terms of going in too early, we've seen, but also players have hung their hopes on the Premier League, and that rejection of not getting that call has killed them as well. The move to 8, like you say, although it's great for the fan and the venue, is it potentially killing players' hopes now as well?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing Joe Cullen called for years to be included, got included, and backed it up by really should have, could have won it. You know, like I say, thickness of a wire away. I mean, look at De Souza being left out, and so many big players have. So they do stick to their. I'll give them credit. They're not afraid. They didn't pick Rob Cross when he won a TV title. Can't call them majors. They're not on Sky. Yeah, and you know, and I got to admire them for that. They won't budge, and that must have taken a lot. Which is why I'm fascinated by the Sky angle on it all, because I think there's too many good players now. I think when it first started, 8, yeah, fine. There wasn't possibly 8 players that were, you know, may have been popular enough, but may not have been good enough to compete at the time. But now, when we've got such strength and depth, but then how do you seed it? So your top 4 are in the last 8, and then you make the other 8 play off to get a quarters, because it's still over too quick. You could make 12, and you have and then you start off with your seeds, right, and then you rank it weekly, and then you have your effectively a prelim to create your 8-player quarter-final, and then give them half the season, and then the top 8 in your Premier League
ranking
order of merit table nonsense. Then play the second half of the season. I don't know, but at least then, you know, the 4 players that, in my opinion, deserve to be in it don't miss out and get that not only valuable experience but the opportunity to play in the Premier League.
Do you think they'll leave a spot available for the potential Masters winner like we've seen the last 2 years?
What if someone does do a Johnny Clayton or a Joe Cullen? Then what?
That's what I said. Do you think they'll leave it open, or But being that it's already so stacked with people that can make a decision early.
I mean, if they had a 12-player field, they could pick 11 and then say, right, crack on. But God, imagine if the unthinkable happened again, which you could well do in that tournament.
Yeah.
You got a lot of players who are absolutely exhausted coming off the back end of the Worlds,
or just coming back off holiday.
Or just coming back off, because that is a time straight after the Worlds, especially Michael. That's where he picks his time to get off to the Caribbean.
Sunnier climes.
Yeah, sunnier climes. Yeah, I mean, but they've done it, and then they set up presidents, so they're probably. And this is the thing that the PDC will always. When you've got a system where not only you're the promoter but also the governing body, you can do what you like. What a position to be in. So never say never.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Gary Anderson as well is coming into that time of year that everyone says, oh, you're producing the Worlds. Are we not so convinced this year, or do you think we'll go there and have a good one?
I can't remember where we were. We did a similar interview, and then he went on and played absolutely brilliant somewhere, didn't he?
Where was it? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, write him off at your peril.
Yeah.
Listen, when you're that talented, it's just all about whether it clicks when you turn up. He knows how to win it. He won it back to back. Having spoke to him down at Minehead, there's still plenty of ambition there. There's still plenty of fire in the belly. But I think the reality probably is sinking in. Look, I can't rely just on ability anymore. I've got to work.
I think that as well. I think we'll see him on the board a little bit more.
Yeah, if we do, then that shows he still has ambition. If he doesn't, who cares? Listen, people would absolutely. I'd chop my arms and my legs off to have a career that he's had. Got nothing to prove to anybody. Got a lovely family. Got a beautiful place where he lives. A wonderful business that probably brings him more happiness than darts has ever had. Do what you want, Gaz. Do what you want. Crack on, son. Whatever you choose to do, I hope he enjoys it, because he's been a great servant to the sport. But like I say, write him off at your peril.
Is he in your top 5 of all time?
Easily, one of the best I've ever seen. But again, I'm constantly trying to put 10 into 5. Trying to put what they call it, round pegs into square holes.
It doesn't work, does it?
It doesn't work. But yeah, he's one of the most talented, and you know, it's so hard because people go, well, his career's been short, or you know, like Adrian Lewis, what he's achieved in the sport, but it was done over a relatively short span. But maybe that's where we're going with the sport now, because of how full on it is. But it's not like years ago where we were playing 3 or 4 times a year right under it. You know, if you compress sort of our careers or the elites that had 15, 20, 30 year careers, try and work out actually how much time that is in the modern sport. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, Gary most definitely is in my top 5 of all time. A lot, and I tell you what, if Peter Wright wins another, he's got to be in there as well, hasn't he? Because, you know, what do you do? Do you do it down to World Championships now, or where they won them, or what era they won them in?
Tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got to look. You know, I tend to look probably a little bit closer to when, you know, the best of the best were playing under one roof. But of course Phil Taylor spans that and some, doesn't he?
World Seniors as well as the World Championships on the horizon. Glenn Durrant is in the field for the first time. Good addition to the squad, shall we say?
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you get your tickets. I'm there in February, and I can't wait. Great idea for a Christmas present as well. And ticket to the World, start from a tenner. That's my promo done at the end. I've got to do one of those actually. I'm pleased to see Glenn there. I've spent a bit of time with him down at the Super Series, doing a bit of commentary with him. He's in a good place. He's in a good place. He's fairly pragmatic about his future, and I think playing in the Super Series, playing in the seniors events, doing some exhibitions, maybe going back to his roots and maybe playing a bit of county and a bit of Super League, if he wants to do it. He's another guy. Do what he wants. He's a 3-time world champion, a Premier League champion, a multiple world master. Do what you like, mate. do what you like. He's got plenty of money. He's in a position to do what he wants when he wants, and there's nothing better in life than just being able to go, I'll do this because I want to, and I'll do that because I want to. I do what I do because I absolutely adore it. And as the saying goes, if you love what you do, never work a day in your life. Look what you do. God knows what your fuel expenses are a year. But yeah, and I think it'll suit him, and I think I think it's hard to ever see him back to his very best, but the same thing I don't expect Phil Taylor to go up there and hit 118 averages. But whatever's left in the locker, you will see those players get it out of themselves, because I think the momentum is there with the seniors, and I think there's so many good players in it. Not saying there wasn't before, but there's a different type of player in it now, and I'll put it this way, I'm not going there to go, hello mate, how you been, did you have a nice Christmas, blah blah. I'm going there with the full intention of absolutely being the best version I can be. I think in the tournaments before, which is understandable, they had to get the names in it, but this is going to become very, very competitive, and it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, it's 40 grand the winner, it's on TV, it's at an absolutely legendary venue, the Circus Tavern. Players ain't going there turning up for a payday. They're turning up there to get the honours. Look at Robert Thornton, what it meant to him when he won it. And this is a guy that's won the World Masters and PDC majors. It means a lot because of the people that are there.
The ADC, the amateur side of the game, have released some really, really good stuff as well. They've upped the prize money on their tour and added a women's part to the tour as well. The boys, Steve and Scott, doing some really, really good things for the amateur game right now. Yeah,
and again, I think we all know there's an opening there. The WDF under its current format, and the fact that they're, I said the sanctioning fees that they're requesting for some of their events is scandalous, absolutely scandalous. Your premier TV events should be financing your staff. The players shouldn't be paying for their staff. They contribute enough already in entry fees, which is where you're sanctioning fees. But because several people want to do it as a full-time job, get a sponsor, mate. Start selling events. Start telling people when it's on, where it's on, who's in it, what's the prize money. Start releasing details about TV deals so you can hopefully attract sponsorship for your brand. It's just ass about face all over again. I mean, the Women's World Masters is not sure when this is going to go out, but this is right upon us. The Dutch must have 100 names in it. But well, how's that work?
Yeah.
I remember when it was really hard to qualify for the World Masters, really hard. If you weren't fortunate enough to be a top 32 player, you had to have won a category one ranking event, a TV event, be the champion, or come all the way through your county. That's how you qualified. And are they dropping the oldest format in the history of our sport?
Leg play.
Wow. Absolutely not a Scooby-Doo. So, the ADC who have been... Steve Brown's been at this whole concept for years and years and years about creating a secondary tour to the PDC, maybe secondary to the Challenge Tour, something somewhere in between, but something that's financially, with enough financial return. So if you're just in between thinking about wanting to go to Q-Score or wanting to turn pro or wanting to go on the Challenge Tour, somewhere you can ply your trade and learn your skills and climb that experience ladder. And those events are ran just night and day. They are just to the second. All the technology with the Darts Atlas software gets alerts on your phone of when you're on. None of this screaming down a microphone, board 4, we need a marker on board 4. ropey boards that are wobbling all over the place. There's not enough room. All the venues are vetted and worked out in terms of size, and they're backing up with their prize money. It's a great time to not be a professional dart player, and being a pro is not for everybody. So where do you go if you can't be a pro, or don't have ambitions of being a pro, or just, county darts is an absolute mess as well. That's just, I didn't even think that could get any worse, and I'm hearing of people travelling 700 miles.
That makes regionalising for me.
Well, there's no money. So people are getting sponsorship, and it's getting spent on coaches. Like, are they just bonkers? And ultimately, it's all right for the minute because people don't have an alternative. As soon as these alternatives start coming in, they'll go, do you know what? I'm not going to waste all this money. Remember, we didn't even send an international team out to the last World Cup. So don't tell me about this whole playing for county getting picked for England that you've got to pay for the privilege of doing anyway. But there's never been an alternative. Maybe the ADC will create some kind of international team as they broaden. It was like we used to have the world pairs, but there weren't too many international teams in that. That became the World Cup. Now that's a global success. But everything has to start somewhere. Maybe the amateur dart side of the game, maybe we can create an international team to take on England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, wherever, and then maybe an American side when they take the ADC brand and take it over there. Maybe that's in the future, but it's all got to start from somewhere. I like the fact that because they looked at the numbers with regards to their world thing, cost of living crisis, they weren't getting the type of money in terms of entries, and said, right, we're just going to postpone it. But this is what happens, and I think this weekend or last weekend they had 9 ranking events on up and down the country. At least and more often than not, the lack of information is what kills any brand. Unless you're big as the PDC and you do what you want, but they can because they're in a financial position to do so. But yeah, I think the game's in a great spot in regards to the new evolution of the sport. Same with the Super Series, same with the ADC, same with the CDC. All these things are starting to get some momentum now, and people are seeing it as not an alternative, but more of a future. And that's what it should be all about. And not everything's going to work, not everybody's going to make the right decision, but ultimately everybody needs to be striving for the same thing, and that's what's best for the players and the sport.
Before I let you go, Mase, Ali Pali, who wins it on January the 3rd?
MBG, the Green Machine, picks up a 4th time.
Mate, absolute pleasure catching up with you before the world, mate. Thank you very much as always.
See you down there, pal.